I think sometimes when we come out, there's this expectation that we know everything about ourselves and that we know everything about queerness and we know everything about everything. And so I think that grace and that patience with ourselves that I've been really harmed, I've been wounded, and so it's gonna take some time for me to heal, and that's okay. Some of my first relationships and my first interactions were not the most authentic me. I was coming from a wounded place, and so I said things and did things and acted in a way that was the best that I could do at the time, and now looking back, I'm like, oh, yeah, I've learned some. And so maybe just grace and patience for the process and not feeling like I need to arrive at a destination. I think identity is not an arrival, it's that process and that practice maybe. And I think that's maybe the most spiritual thing we can do, right? Is to get to know ourselves, to understand how the still small voice or our intuition or our wisdom or our gut speaks to us. Maybe that's what I would say.
I think the first thing I had to realize was I didn't need everybody's acceptance and permission. And so I think those who are trying to navigate spirituality and queerness and all of that is to realize I don't need everyone else's permission to be queer or to be spiritual. And so when navigating spirituality and when navigating queerness, I think the first thing we do is set aside all the opinions and thoughts that are coming into our head. Set aside everyone else's opinions. Then set aside the rules and regulations that don't fit or don't coexist. And the very most important thing is to tap into your knowing, tap into yourself, what feels right, tap into God, what sounds right, what feels correct for me and my life and what I am navigating right now. Because I can't get answers for everybody else in this world, but I know that I can get guidance for myself. So the first step is let go of everyone's opinions and thoughts. Second is let go of all the rules and regulations that community and that cultures create. And then the third is connect with God. Connect with your spirituality, connect with your knowing.
When I left my religion, I was kind of lost between the community that I had that was very supporting, that I distanced myself from because of what they were propagating, and then trying to find a new identity and a new community to help me out. I found it through a lot of my own interests that I was able to express, as in I was able to find community through me being queer. I was able to find a great queer community around me. That's where I found Encircle. That's where I found my local GSA and support groups. That's where I was able to find a lot of my lifelong friends. And I was able to find them through my own hobbies of dance. And I found a lot of people through that too. It all just depends on your own interests and if you're willing to really kind of come out of your shell and actually express what you want, and you'll find people everywhere that most likely want the same things.
First off, learn all that you can. Second off, learn how to tell your story. Learn how to share what you're going through. That'll become vitally important, especially as you come out to parents and other people. Again, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to be on trial. So you need to be able to tell and explain your experience, and that's really hard, I know. It took me a long time to figure it out, and I know you're struggling, but try to find the words, try to find the ways to say it that makes the most sense. And before you come out, make sure do your best to try and figure out a way if you'll be safe. Most importantly, be safe. And as you come out, just be brave. Be who you are. Be fearless in living your best life, and move forward, knowing that you can have an awesome future and you can do whatever you want. Will things be hard? Sure. Life is hard anyway, but you can do it, and you can have an awesome life, and you can be happy. And we need you. We need you to be here. And don't give up on us. Let us help.
I would definitely tell young queer people who have competing or differentiating identities that don't necessarily go well together, that they don't think go well together. Actually, let's highlight that comparison. I would encourage them to do their own research, find people in their own communities. Like I found Jewish people who were also queer online and realized I wasn't alone. And I think that's a really important thing for us, all people in general, but especially queer people, to find a community and stick to it and understand that there's more that unites us than divides us, but sometimes you need your own people to help you out with something.
I think what came up for me is this real solidarity and community. I think there's something that binds us as queer humans to one another, and that is often rejection. At least in this iteration of human history, right, is we have familiarity with that rejection, that familiarity with being told, I think, our biggest fear as human beings, which is that we're unwanted as we are. And so I think, first and foremost, finding community maybe is we already have that community. My queerness has existed longer than I've existed, right? I think it's this intergenerational thing. And so knowing that I come from a long lineage of queer humans from all different cultures and all different demographic and physical locations. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the deeper I get to know my queerness, the more connected to the larger queer community I am. Yeah, which I think has been my theme this entire time, right? Like the introspective work, the understanding of self inherently is expansive. It doesn't reduce us, it actually increases our capacity to understand the world at large. I also feel like one of the things that's really important is to recognize that it's never a need for us to be in communities, relationships, environments that make us feel small. I think sometimes we put up with a lot as queer humans, and we're told that that's kind of just our lot in life, that that's what we're supposed to do, that in order to maintain meaningful relationships, we have to reduce ourselves or be less of ourselves. And so I think I want to put some energy towards that shouldn't be a prerequisite for connection. That's an unfair position to put us in, that I have to be smaller or less or more quiet or less queer in order to maintain relationships. So maybe, yeah, it's okay to be us, and it's okay to be us in our fullness, and it's okay if people aren't in a position to receive that in its fullness, but it's not our fault. It's not that we need to be less. It's that they still have work to do.
I can't say anything profound that probably no one's ever heard before, but when it comes to your religious faith and your sexual orientation and gender identity, it's all part of you. You're all one big whole. And if you're denying one part of you in either direction, you're ending up hurting yourself in many ways. But if you can take time to really explore yourself in all those aspects, it's all going to be worth it in the end. And that was at least my experience, and I hope that it can be yours too.
I think just my final thoughts would be to be tolerant of others. Just because they don't subscribe to the same beliefs as you does not mean that you can't understand them or empathize with them. I think there's always something you can get from somebody else. You don't have to be Jewish, you don't have to be any other religion, you don't have to be atheist to understand an atheist. There's things we can find in other people that are beautiful regardless of their religion, spiritual identity, gender identity, or sexual orientation, Like there's beauty in everyone.
There was a thought, I actually just had a breakfast with my brother, and I don't know, let's see if this even comes out, because we were talking and I asked him, how does someone who's queer still get the support of the religion? And then he said, well, let's take a step back. Do we have to have that support? Do we have to have that validation? And as we shift and as our beliefs shift, we start to find community, and that's just how life is. We find community and we find support in different areas. And so I think we need to let go of the expectation of what we receive from other people. And our spirituality doesn't come from other people. Our spirituality doesn't come from locations, doesn't come from all the words of that other people are saying. It really comes from us seeking it. Spirituality comes from us seeking it and us trying to navigate our lives in alignment with that.